Tennessee This Week from WATE's 6 on Your Side starts now.
Hello and welcome to Tennessee This Week. I'm Don Hudson. Good to be with you for our first show in 2025. But we're actually going to go back to 2024 for a moment. At the end of the year, the State Education Department released its latest list of school letter grades. We're going to focus on Knox County. 18 schools received an A rating, 24 rated B. Together, these top-ranked schools represent a little more than 50% of Knox County schools. Others received some lower marks, including 6 that actually got an F. Fulton High School, Vine Middle Magnet, and Sarah Moore Green Magnet School, all on that list of failing schools. So joining us right now to talk about all this are WATE political pundits, Courtney Piper, Craig Griffith, Michael Covington. So I'm curious with these grades. This is the second time they've come out, right?
Yes.
In 2016, the bill got passed, but COVID and all kinds of, it just took a while to get it going. Knowing that this is the second time, are the grades helping us go in the right direction?
No.
Okay.
Don, and I'll say it, this grading system is a way to push through a voucher bill in the Tennessee General Assembly this season.
That's all this is. It's not
That's all this
helping.
is. It's not, because, so a couple things. My kid's school isn't even on the list. It wasn't on last year. It says it's not eligible. I do not know why.
I was going to ask why. Yeah, how you're not be.
No idea. Also, you know, Fulton High School got an F, and I served on the special education task force with a woman whose daughter went to Fulton High School and had nothing but fabulous things to say about Fulton. Her daughter got a scholarship to college, the extracurricular activities. I've even known some administrators in the Knox County school system who have said, you know, I would send my kids to Fulton High School if I got to choose where to send my kids to school. So these letter grades, they're completely bogus, my opinion, and I think the reason that they exist is to push through a voucher program.
Okay. That said, I'll go down the line for a moment. And Michael, your take on these grades, do they have any value?
Yes, to the proponents of the voucher program.
Okay.
Yes, they absolutely do. And I would applaud them for the effectiveness of this grading system. What it does is it says, if you put a favorable metric together for vouchers, it will look as though vouchers should be passed to save those who want to get away from public schools. I believe that there are a lot of parents that want to get their kids away from public schools, period. Not about the grades, not about getting a better grade at another school, not about how much it costs. They want out of the public schools, period. And so whatever means are necessary to make it pass, I expect to see more extraneous things that come out that make it look as though vouchers are a must.
So, Craig, let's say you get a bad grade, and just I want to overdo the data here, but high schools in Knox County, 4 scored an A, 7 scoring a D. And that doesn't, I guess we could count the F as well for one of those as well. But just that alone, does that not help us in some way, or is this, like you said, is this just all part of the school voucher thing?
Well, what is the criteria? I mean, what is that, you know, grade telling you? Okay, your high school that you're sending your children has a D. What does that mean? I mean, there's no band, no football. They don't have enough teachers per subject. They don't have very good teachers in math and English. So, you know, what is that grade telling me? And what can you use that grade for to improve? You know, where are the factors in there? And is the state supplying any funds, resources from the results of that? You know, like if you're under a C, do you get more money for reading teachers, math teachers, to improve your curriculum? So, you know, it is just, you know, a letter grade to cause people angst, I think. And you know, and it's part of it gets back to that whole issue. Okay, I'm going to take if the voucher bill passes, I'll take the voucher and I'll go to a private school, which has no grading, which has no testing. So how do we know that that's going to improve your educational outcomes other than you're out of the public schools?
Right. And I'm not. And look, like Courtney, I've only been to Fulton. I've gone to see football games. I've gone to talk to the basketball team. I've been there.
Taught at Fulton.
Okay. I've done career day, so I have a little bit of interaction there. I wouldn't. Off of that alone, I couldn't make a judgment, but I certainly wouldn't have said, boy, this looks like a terrible school in any way. Well, but we do know that some schools are better than other schools, don't we? I mean, when someone's getting an A and someone's getting a C, can that be a true representation? Because there are certain schools that really outperform.
When a student is considering college as a sophomore, because you take the PSAT and all that, they're starting to gauge how they stack up with other students who will be vying for slots at colleges. So now comes your junior year and you're applying to colleges, and there's a block on that application that says, what is the grade of your school? If you went to Fulton, the grade of your school is F. That may have some impact on admissions for a child that has nothing to do with their academic performance. Again, as Courtney was saying, there needs to be a metric. Craig said the same thing. There must be a metric. I read the article closely. I did not see, nor could I create a metric that made the numbers or the grades make sense.
So, and I've read some
Well,
of them. So how are they coming up
I
with
need to
it?
throw in here too.
Yeah.
That my wife is a Fulton High School graduate.
Okay.
Went on to college, got her master's degree, and is successfully retired. So Fulton has been a good school for the last, well, I'll say 30 years. So
that might have been a little bit of a reach.
right. So there's and that's a good example of what are you looking for in this grade? What is that grade telling you? I mean, the different schools have different capabilities, different emphasis. Like West High School is the International Baccalaureate School. Does that help their grade go up? And if it does, why don't other high schools do it? Are there in the academy schools and the STEM schools, are they being graded for the same ways that the other are? And with their emphasis on science and technical skills, is that giving them an unfair advantage? So, the grades tell me nothing other than, like Courtney says, trying to create an atmosphere where there's a sense of panic, and I don't want to send my kid to that public school.
Well, let's say
even though the vouchers, if you look at other states, the vouchers are going to the people that are already have kids in private schools.
Well, first off, based on what you said about your wife, she sounds very smart, and I'm trying to figure out how she ended up being your wife.
Well,
but that's another.
That's another show.
Now, as you were talking about all that, L&N did get an A. L&N Academy did get an A. So, I mean, what should they say about it? Oh, these don't matter? That's the thing. If you get an A or a B, shouldn't you be able to use that to say we're...
Well, and that's the thing. We don't have clear or transparent criteria as to what makes an A school and what makes a D school or an F school an F school. The L&N STEM Academy is one of the newest high schools in the Knox County system using a new operating model. So what we can't tell from these scores is, does that new way of structuring a high school, is that what's making it A? Is it giving more student success? Are the students happier, well-adjusted? Are they getting better grades? Therefore, is that a model we should apply to all of the high schools? So we just don't have clear and transparent data where we can see, well, what's making a difference here that maybe could be used in other high schools.
And I do apologize to the surrounding areas. You've got, like Blount County, Anderson County. We just don't have time to go through and pick through all of them, so we use Knox just because it has the most schools. I know that the superintendent, John Ryswick, said about this, he just said that our incredible work at our schools can't be captured by a single score or letter grade. And what you're saying is that sounds like that he's saying the right thing.
That's true. That is
well, what is the metric?
accurate.
Is it the grade? Is it your TCAP results?
Right.
Is it number of people that graduate and go on to college? What are we measuring here? And how does one grade sum up that whole
Well,
emphasis?
let's back up. We only have about a minute left, just the one grade. But Tennessee as a whole, just depends on what source you're using. Anywhere from maybe 32nd to 42nd, as far as schools go in the nation. I mean, statewide, we're not that great.
Right.
I mean, we would, as a state, not be getting an A, that's for sure, if that's where we are. So can we say that, forget this, we still need to focus on education and make it better?
Oh, there's no question you need to focus on education. Education is the best economic development project you have. If you're graduating well-qualified people from high school, moving on to college, that's going to work wonders for your state's economic development, because they're going to need people to fill the jobs of the 21st century. So yes, it's something we need to look at, and we need to look at how the money is best spent. So we'll have to see, is that $144 million that's set aside for vouchers going to be spent better addressing the schools in the rural communities that got a D or an F?
Right. And a positive note, and I can't remember, Courtney, you probably will, the company that just made its decision to go to Oak Ridge just because of Tennessee's schools. I mean,
Right.
well, not just, but a
Right.
big reason.
The company is Arano, and one of the reasons that they chose to locate in Oak Ridge was because of the workforce development partnerships,
Right.
primarily between our community colleges and our four-year institutions. But what our community colleges have been doing is partnering with public school systems to do something like that's called middle college. So by the time you graduate high school, you can also graduate with an associate's degree.
Yeah,
And Bill Haslam made that school free. Yeah.
Yes.
So trying to bring up the number of people in the state that had advanced degrees
Right.
or certificates.
Well, clearly we have work, and at the same time, on a positive note, we're doing something right for a big company like that to say we're going to come in here and invest millions and maybe even billions of dollars. I
Also
think.
true.
And of course, the Oak Ridge City Schools have one of the best school systems in the state. So that's another plus. for
Well, we don't
that.
know. We haven't looked at their letter grades yet.
Well,
Greg.
historically speaking, they've had. You know,
But you better find those letter grades.
well, I think National Merit Scholars is another good grade to look at.
All right, Greg, thank you very much. Thank all three of you for talking about that. Still to come here in Tennessee this week. A new year means some new laws are now in effect. We're going to talk about some of them and see if some of them will stick, some of them won't. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Tennessee This Week. A new year underway, and a number of new laws are going into effect this month. And our panel of pundits is here to talk about these as well. And I'm going to start with this list, the Protect Tennessee Minors Act, which will require age verification for access to explicit websites. That's now on hold because there's a legal challenge. But so let's talk about both. A good law to protect minors, or is the challenge a good challenge because this maybe oversteps?
The challenge is a good challenge. It never sat well with me that you wanted somebody to upload their driver's license in
Right.
order to visit a website. I don't care what the website
Right.
is. To
Well,
me, that
and especially when it's maybe that type of website and you're putting your license on
Right,
it. You know.
right. And it raises a lot of privacy concerns for me. And if the issue is you don't want your minors accessing porn online, parental controls are actually a lot more effective than having somebody upload a personal document to the internet that then could be hacked and breached. So I think this is a good challenge, and it deserves a minute for everybody to really think about what some of the unintended consequences might be.
The law on the surface, I mean, do you think this challenge goes through, or do you think that maybe the law prevails?
I don't know. It's a tough. A lawyer friend of mine said that one of the things of the law says that yes, you have to have this age verification, and the company has to keep that for 7 years. So that means your data is locked up with some website that's probably not of the highest character. You know, the people, heaven only knows what they'll do with that. Will they, you know, will they sell it to, the darknet people for, who want that
They've already got
information?
it, by the way.
Yeah, well, they
probably,
may
but
already have it, but this is another way for them to get it.
Right.
So we don't have a good, I think the intent of the law is good. We don't have a good way to do it. We don't have a technical way that says we don't have to give you our private information to make sure that it's okay to view this website. And I think that's where the technology needs to come into. So it's a mechanism where you don't have to give them your social security number, birthday, driver's license to use this website.
The other law that sounds almost the same, it's like that, is the Protecting Children from Social Media Act. That bill passed in April, requires social media companies to verify the age of children who sign up for accounts on their platforms as well. It's different than Protect Tennessee Minors Act. So I don't know if that's been challenged as well, or how does that hit you as far as, Michael, as far as you looking at protecting children and making sure, hey, if you want to be on TikTok, Instagram, not going on Facebook probably if they're that young anymore, that's the older sect right there, to verify your age.
I wonder how they will enforce this. I wonder how much it will cost for the technology to keep up with the advancements that happen every 24 hours. Beyond that, the individuals most likely to protect themselves from this law and be able to get around it are young people. And young people will know immediately that the get around for this is a VPN, a virtual private network. Adults should probably use it. It would keep Amazon and some of the other major poachers of information, and Google as well, from getting your information. and giving you ads that try to encourage you to buy things that you express some interest in. So I think we just need to adapt to the fact that it's going to be problematic for them to implement this and to fight the legal challenges, and the legal challenges will not go away. They're going to continue.
And I don't want anyone to think that we're saying that we don't want to protect our kids. We don't really want maybe 11-year-olds on there to see some of that content on some of these things. But yeah, they're just saying you have to have express parental consent. And I don't know how that works out. Like going to a theater and saying, hey, you have to be 17 to see this movie.
Right. The details in this matter. How are you going to have this minor verify and validate their age? Are parents going to have to provide documentation? Again, to me, this is all about, my father, if you need your social security number for something, he would challenge you, anybody on the phone at the why do you need my social security number? Why do you need my
I'm with your father.
Yeah, exactly. And so again, anytime you've got to upload a driver's license, what are they wanting? A birth certificate? I don't want to upload that stuff on the internet. To Michael's point, if you've got children that want to create a social media account, they're going to figure out a way to do it. I've got friends with children who are newly teenagers, and they've been creating secret accounts that the parents always find out about. And then the problem is it takes an act of Congress to actually delete that account.
Right.
So this just seems extraordinarily problematic, and like it was written by people who really don't understand how the internet or these social media accounts work.
I mean, how many of us, and I'm talking to people at home as well, have said, I'm having this issue with my computer or my phone, and you call the kids over to fix your problem.
Well, and I think they're going around what, in my opinion, really needs to be done, and that's to turn off all the algorithms. That's where we get into the trouble, with people on websites but they will never do it because the algorithm is why Mark Zuckerberg is the fourth, wealthiest man in the world, because he's, way before we were all thinking about it, he was stealing all our private information every time you logged on to Facebook or Instagram. So if they turn off, if I set up an account and I want, Don and Courtney and Michael to be on, see what I say, then I have to let them on. It doesn't need to be an algorithm where everything everybody else prints comes to your Facebook page.
Oh, and doesn't it?
Yes, and doesn't it?
Remember the days when there weren't that many ads?
Right.
That's what we'll be
But how am
talking
I
about.
supposed to know what new shoes to buy, Craig?
Well, the worst is once you buy them,
you
then they
go to
still
your shoe store here in Knoxville, Tennessee, and keep that business alive instead of ordering it off the internet.
Well, I don't even mind that because, but it's like once you do it, it's like now you're still bombarding me. Clearly, you didn't understand that I purchased those as well as search for them. Another law that's taking effect yesterday or a few days ago here, dubbed the Prior Authorization Fairness Act. It requires certain notifications to be made if a health insurance provider denies coverage of medication while citing a prior authorization reason. And there's non-urgent and urgent. If it's urgent, it has to be within 72 hours to fix it. If it's not, I think they have up to a week. That's kind of your forte there, Greg.
Well, prior authorization is a nightmare, for both prescriptions as well as medical procedures. And, I had to go back to it, but, when the healthcare executive was shot and killed in New York, we saw all these people that said, well, did he get a prior authorization for his death? I mean, it's just terrible what these companies make some people go through to get what they feel is life-saving, treatment. So, it's anytime you can make it so that prior authorization does not result in a negative impact to your healthcare outcome is worth the trouble.
I want to jump to one more here. Excuse me. It's a law designed to help combat alcohol-related sexual assault, and it basically a bill passed that makes servers at bars have to take a class every year to maybe recognize or see when assault or something nefarious is happening. Basically, according to the bill, the training must also educate servers to recognize reporting signs of human trafficking. So they're basically putting on bartenders and servers this class to go along with everything else. Is it asking too much? Is it asking for a lawsuit? Does it maybe actually help? In light of some of
the city of Knoxville Police Department has been doing this probably, I don't know, for 30 years. Again, using 30 years. So it is not really something new, at least in the city of Knoxville. The police department's been training bartenders and servers like this for
mandatory?
years. Yeah, well, no, it's not mandatory, but I'd have to think about that. It may be involved in getting your liquor
your
license.
Okay.
This is not really something new, but it's probably extending the
Right.
reach of that law to areas that don't have these training programs in place already.
And I think we all know there's some instances that happened in Nashville that probably set that off because of serving or not serving certain people and keeping an eye. Do you think that this is something that ends up getting challenged and goes away, or do you think that this will?
I question what the penalties for violating this law are. If the penalties are stiff enough, yes, there will be significant challenges because, as you said, the responsibility is being placed now on the bartender to be the sheriff for people reveling at bars. That may be a reach. I don't spend a lot of time in bars, but when it's busy, it's really tough to tell who's coming and who's going, who's with who. So I just think that's putting too much on bartenders if there is a stiff penalty for failure to adhere.
Right. And just so we get the wording out there, it requires a course of at least 3.5 hours and must include training to understand the role of alcohol in sexual assault and harassment. So that's what they want. They want the bartenders and
So there's
servers
no
to know.
penalty.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and it's like in convenience stores. We've had laws on the books for years about underage selling.
Right.
And we go and they do operations. That
Right,
send
stores
in,
still get busted
and they
doing
still,
it.
I don't know about the owners. They say, okay, we can't sell liquor. We lose our license for 30 days or 6 months, and they go back to doing the same thing. So it's a difficult nut to crack.
We'll have to end it with that thought. Thank you very much, Craig. Much more on Tennessee This Week when we come back. Welcome back to Tennessee This Week. Right now, TikTok is on track to be banned in the United States beginning January 19th. But President-elect Trump has made some comments to say, hoping the Supreme Court will back off of this. They want to try to negotiate something. Just so everyone understands, it's basically the ownership of TikTok. They're saying it needs to switch. And other than that, it's going to get banned. Is this going to happen? Should it happen? Or are we overreaching? And when I say we, not us necessarily, but the government overreaching here. Because I know this is going to impact millions and millions of people that actually make money off of TikTok.
To me, it seems very unlikely that this will happen in the way that we're all thinking it will happen on January 19th, that just no one will be able to access TikTok anymore. To your point, when this legislation started getting rolled out, there were a lot of commercials that came up that talked about how small business owners were using TikTok to make a living, to either increase awareness about their industry or their business or to actually sell their products. So I have a really hard time thinking that we are just going to shut down this site that so many small business owners and individuals depend on for income. So I think at the 9th hour, some sort of deal will be reached or some sort of extension will happen. But I just have a real hard time thinking that this very popular social media platform will just not be available to anybody in the U.S.
Yeah, Michael, what's going to happen to your TikTok page?
That's a good one.
Yeah.
As Courtney was talking, I was thinking, what shall I say about this topic? Since I have no TikTok, I have no Instagram, I don't have that kind of time. So I wonder about the people who will be disenfranchised, who will lose their livelihoods, who will lose their social lives. If TikTok were to go away, I would really feel bad for them if they lost their TikTok. And I see people worshiping at the throne of TikTok, and I feel for them.
Right. Would the other social media companies want this to happen? I mean, wouldn't Instagram/Facebook, Meta, wouldn't they want that to happen? Because then,
well, if you go back, this is one of the few bipartisan bills that actually passed the Congress last year. And, it was all wrapped up in national security.
Right.
Because
the ownership,
the ownership is Chinese, and supposedly all the Chinese are moderating, where my old high school buddies went to dinner last night. Apparently that's critical to their country. And what they had. So, I just don't understand, and of course the Wall Street Journal editorialized last week that it was an overreach by the president-elect to say, don't do something on a law that was bipartisanly passed Congress, before he's even in office.
Right.
So we'll see. It's I predict it'll be turned off on the 19th.
Oh.
Yeah.
We only have 10 seconds. What do you think?
Like
Turned
you
off
said,
or not?
Don, well, the ownership is the issue. So if they can figure out some agreement where there's a TikTok USA, where it has USA ownership, I think that's likely.
That'll be the last word. Thank you very much for you your comments. Thanks, Michael. And for you watching, we'll see you next week on Tennessee This Week.
The views of guests on Tennessee This Week are their own and do not represent the views of WATE 6 on your side or Next Star Broadcasting.